Welcome back. This is Morning Express, and we are taking a look at the local dailies just to see what's being prioritized. And the biggest story last week has spilled over into this week, and the Daily Nation this morning is telling us court throws power plan into a spin. Last week's judgment declaring the bill to change the constitution null and void has scuttled a deal for an anticipated super alliance, which has hinged upon the proposed creation of new executive positions. Now, that's a big angle that, of course, is emerging. Honorable Gakuya, what do you make, or what do you foresee in the near future now that this is happening, that super alliance might not come to fruition as a result of the creation of the executive positions? What do you foresee, politically speaking?
Thank you, Trex. I oversee a situation where there will be new regrouping of what we call political strategies. Mm-hmm. Probably what the outcome will be is a possibility of a break that, in fact, the so purported lining team with the head of state may, at some point, split. Because what can maintain that kind of a clique at that particular high level is those routes that were earmarked or propelled by the BBI, because he will be able to win every region with a portion of a particular carrot from that executive level. But now, if it will be individual, tells you that, in fact, it will be hard to win the hearts of that region kingmanship without a pure, clear positions at the top, because we are only left with very junior positions, which are the speaker, two speakers, the Speaker of the Senate and the Speaker of the National Assembly, and most likely the majority leader in the House and the minority. And those are positions which are not now going to be touched if the current constitutional order is going to remain to take us to the next election. I also oversee a situation where that probably we are heading to have probably 4 number or 3 number of presidential candidates, because here we will find a situation where 2 will be ganging together, because the remaining positions to be contested are the presidency and his deputy, and therefore most likely there will be alignment of two regions within the country, where you find, yes, maybe this particular kingmaker will look for a deputy from a certain angle, and another one will line up with and pick a deputy from another region. And I believe that, in fact, at the end of the day, there was a possibility of having two serious presidential contenders, one being propelled from the side of the head of state and his hardship team, together with the One Kenya team. And and if the positions were there, right, I am sure that the head of state could be able to win them toward that election. And now the deputy president, who is seen as a lone ranger in this particular battle. But now that if there will be a final verdict that no room for those positions, then the possibility is to a unity of that clique is not going to be there. And therefore, most likely, we're going to find almost 4 serious contenders in the next election.
Okay. Honorable Martino, you have to agree at least that this is quite an awkward time, politically speaking, for proponents of the BBI. It seems like it was all mapped out, but the court actually threw a spanner in the works. So what do you foresee? Do you agree with that Honorable Gakuya analyzes, with Honorable Gakuya's analysis of the situation, or do you have a different prediction for the coming future?
No, we in ODM, we are very calm. And I said earlier in the studio that political novice can be very painful for others.
Okay.
Those who are showing elements of betting maybe the proper vision of making their coalition work. But for us, we are very confident. Just going through what the legal person says there, if you go through them, public participation, internet connectivity, measuring of how whether people are educated or not, publishing in vernacular language, rushing, all those, I'm qualified. If you say something is rushed, you have to prove in a court of law how it was rushed. If you say maybe the BBI ought to have been published in law, which I tried to explain to my people, they don't even understand more law than me. So the burden, the honor is on those people who in court of law. And I'm very confident that we are going to win this.
Okay.
Lastly, when we were talking about Super Alliance, I said this is molding kind of interest. It's not molded yet. We're having discussions. So yeah, it could be that kind of panic. We are not panicking. We're very set, and you will never know our plan B. And that is why politics is very interesting, and that's why I really respect my party leader, Engineer Raila Amolo. You not know, like a submarine, where it's going to push it ahead. But for now, we are very sure we will pull this through. BBI is still on track, and as we say, no one can stop anything.
Okay. Now, that optimism aside, I'd like to get Mr. Morara's opinion on this element. The BBI proposed creation of offices of the Prime Minister and 2 deputies, as well as the cabinet appointments for MPs' positions that expand options in power sharing, in addition to the presidential flag bearer and running mate slots. And you have talked about the slim chance of this being, the ruling being overturned by another court, but then you were talking about options. Are there other feasible options that they could pursue that would enable this sort of things to be actually put together for and then give chance or a lease of life to those possible super alliances?
So in my opinion, I do not see the need for having this kind of government structure where we have the Prime Minister and the Deputy Prime Ministers and introducing the members of Parliament being in the cabinet. Those are very bad ideas, and I think that it is good that we had this litigation which has brought that to an end, because the narrative that was being promoted by those who are behind these proposals is that this is how we unite this country, that this is how we end the disputes that arise after every election cycle. But that's a lie.
Yeah.
The reality is that we've been having these differences after every election because of how we conduct the elections. So the solution, in my opinion, lies in conducting proper elections in our country.
Okay.
Conducting free, fair elections every time when we have our elections. But if we do not do that, every single day we will continue to have these problems after every election cycle.
Right.
And I would like to pose a question. If we were to introduce the Prime Minister, who comes from the party that has the majority in the Parliament, that is highly likely to be the party where the presidential candidate who emerges the victor in the election comes from. So how does that solve the problem? It will not solve the problem, and actually that's why this must be stopped, because it's very clear. You can see the intentions are not what we are being told are the intentions of conducting or proposing the amendments to the Constitution.
Yes, and
allow me to extend to an element where the propellers of the BBI has been pushing, trying to officially convince that this is the element where inclusivity lies. Where do you see, according to your analysis, that probably the Grand Coalition will provide the president and also provide the prime minister? Where will be the point of inclusivity coming in if you will be getting the prime minister from the big party? So that Grand Coalition will not allow the other coalitions, which are smaller coalition, to get anything from that particular sharing scenario.
Yeah, exactly, Mheshimiwa. That's my point, that in my opinion, this does not solve the problem at all. In fact, what it will do is to make the competition even worse. What we need to have is just the positions as they are, president and deputy president. Let the election be conducted fairly. Then you will never have any complaints after every election. What we can have is the winner being congratulated by the loser. But if we do not change how we conduct the elections. That will continue to be the problem
Okay.
every election cycle. Even if we introduced many, many more positions, it will not change unless we conduct proper elections. That's the reality.
Yeah, and your solution would be the reforming of our electoral systems. Do you think we stand a chance to effectively gain that, given the short period of time we have between now and the next election?
No, we are not serious. That's why I was actually saying that the IBC, as we speak, for the last since the last election, has not had proper quorum. We are not even serious about appointing those commissioners. We've been leaving it to stay the way it was till now. So that shows that we are not prepared even for the next election. And we were making it even worse by trying to have a referendum before the next election. So clearly, to me, we are still preparing for failure by failing to just simply implement the electoral laws that are provided there's the election provisions in the Constitution, there's the election statutes. We have not implemented those ones, and that's why we are likely to still have many problems going into the next election. And they'll only be made worse by having a referendum.
Yeah, but we continue to hear politicians say that they are, the example of Honorable Martin Owino, who has said they are optimistic, they feel like they can still push for this. So are there any avenues that they could actually use to actualize this desire to get this position set up?
The only option they have, in my opinion, is to simply go through the appeal mechanism. There is slim chances. If they do not succeed at their Court of Appeal, they move to the Supreme Court. If they do not succeed at that point, then all they have to do is to go back and have hit the reset button and begin the process afresh. And what will happen, there will be not enough time to do those things before the next election, and that's how their plan will fail.
All right. Now, let's move on to another story. The Senate decides fate of Wajir governor. That is on page 12 of the Standard, teased on the front page of the Standard, also on the front page of the Daily Nation. Why Senate impeached Governor Mohamud. Wajir Governor Mohamed Abdi Mohamud has been removed from office after his Senate upheld his impeachment by the County Assembly. His deputy, Mr. Ahmed Ali Mukhtar, will now take over the county leadership. Yesterday, 25 senators voted for his outer after he was found guilty of gross violation of the Constitution. 2 opposed the motion after 4 abstained. Honorable Gakuye, did you see this coming?
Seriously, Senate has been presenting 2 phases.
Okay.
And their decision making in terms of impeaching governors has not been partial, because it's like most of the time they have been liable to decisions out of pressure from somewhere, or out of what I can say influence from somewhere. Because there is no way you can say the Senate can sit up to midnight and there is somebody still waiting for their determination somewhere at a government place who will immediately gazette after that particular verdict and gazette whatever outcome. That tells me somebody somewhere has already taken that process, and these guys are working under pressure of somebody.
Okay.
And that is how we are saying we have always been seeing hands of executive mutilating or doing what we call micromanaging the institutions which are independent arms of government, like legislature. And let me tell you, it is very important for members that are elected by the people to exercise their mandate freely and fairly. And that's only when we can arrive to a situation where one is being casted by the vote. If the vote takes him off, okay, but not out of any other outside pressure. And in this particular yesterday one, I would say, I was totally convinced that you cannot allow a governor to be in an office, and a governor that actually his office is being overrun by his wife. This is not,
okay.
Because actually, you have to respect the voter, and the voter voted the governor, and he never voted the what we call the pair. Okay. If the voters voted the pair, that's another case. But there is no way that the governor can allow they're supposed to take over the mandate of his mandate in the office, and then when the public wash. And therefore, I think this particular petition was right and it came at the right time. And I think that particular route it took yesterday is the best route, so that governors are disciplined, that the offices of the people are offices of the people. Those are not their private offices.
All right. Honorable Owino, we're having here 17 being the number of allegations that supported the charges of gross violation of the Constitution and abuse of office leveled against the governor. What do you make of this, of how this transpired? I think yesterday, yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Me, I'm very proud of the process that was taken. If you allow me, let me shoot one or two in the last debate, because the reason really why Kenyans are fighting during election is because the shared cake, national shared cake, is always wrong and skewed. So that when people go to poll, they expect their person to get in so that they can also get to share the cake. If we want to validate what I'm saying is true, see how the government is constituted now to communities, Rift Valley, Mount Kenya. Go to all the ministries, you'll find them dominating. That is the president and the vice president. So inclusivity is one of the diseases that BBI was going to keep.
Right.
Now, the other point is that having members of parliament as ministers is a safety net for an accountability system. You remember during Moi time, ministers could disagree with Moi, and at 1 o'clock you're fired. But even if you're fired, you say, thank you, President, because your immediate employer are the people. So you come back to Parliament. And in Parliament, they ask questions. Right now, Gakoya will tell you, even if we call the CSS to come to committees, some send PS, they don't come.
Okay.
Because their loyalty right, to the president who appointed them out of Parliament. So that's why we were suggesting that. So inclusivity and also accountability, that is why BBI was there. But for the Senate, I think I'm happy because devolution was meant to take resources to the people, especially in the healthcare system, which was the first, one of the utmost violation. If people are suffering, dying, and funds are embezzled by the governor, this has been endorsed by the MCA. The Senate had no choice but to replace him. But more importantly, what really amazed me in all this is that the chair of the committee abstained. You know, when you abstain in a voting, you either don't have enough information, or you have a conflict of interest, or partisan in a way, party affiliation, whatever it is. I was quite amazed by that. There were 4 abstentions, but the chair to abstain, that was very interesting.
Right, interesting indeed. And it came to a point where the governor actually pleaded for mercy, saying he had done a great deal to improve the state of welfare, healthcare rather, in the country by repairing ambulances. He told lawmakers that he had repaired ambulances and that had broken down, and when he took over. Now, was this too little, too late, Mr. Morara?
I think what I could say about the impeachment process is that these are political processes. They are not really, I cannot call them a legal process. And in many cases, whatever the facts that may be applicable in a particular case, the parliamentarians will usually vote based on their political affiliations or on party lines. So there's nothing much to really say on that.
But what do you think about the fact this process is basically, it comes from the Constitution basically, because when you go against the integrity of your office, then that has a legal basis, even though the voting will happen however it happens, but there is a basis for it, that is the law, right?
That's correct. I think what I could say on that particular issue is that probably the Senate needs to really develop standards on how they conduct these impeachments, because all that we've seen is there's a lack of consistency on how they evaluate each and every case. So there's need to come up with a standard of how they really look at these cases when they come before the Senate. Yeah.
Okay. Now, as that transpired, there's more that's happening on the international front, and that has to do with vaccine nationalism, and that is what we're being told on the front page of the Daily Nation this morning. They say, away with vaccine nationalism. WHO wants vaccine-producing nations to distribute COVID-19 doses to poor nations within the next 3 months. On the other side, we're having Tanzania making a U-turn on the coronavirus by virtue of them having a new president. President Samia Suluhu now has instructed, as we saw in the international papers, that and based on the advice of a committee that she formed on COVID-19, to actually have Tanzania, go ahead and have vaccination started, because that is the solution they have seen to the current pandemic as far as Tanzania is concerned. What do you make of these situations transpiring far from within our borders, Honorable Gakuye?
What I can say is a milestone towards a very devastated situation.
Yeah.
Because Magufuli had taken Tanzania very backward. And I would say when a pandemic like this one is well identified by global, and every other country accepted that actually is a serious pandemic. Then you are bringing another new science telling your constituents that in fact they should not even wear a mask, and they cannot also put any single prevention that tells you that you're exposing your people to very serious danger. Considering that at the level we are in Kenya, assuming that we take that particular relaxant angle, where could we be at this particular time? And therefore, I am very sure many bad things has happened in Tanzania is only that it happened on a silent way, and it was kept silent. But I am sure people have totally suffered. And the new president, Suluhu, I would say, is a big plus to her new about turn and coming up with a new change of heart, calling for a commission, which the committee has given him a report which is very positive, that is now giving a new start for Tanzania. So to me, that is how you come out of a limbo, because Tanzania was in limbo, and now that it will now push together with the rest of the nations or neighboring nations. And to us, it's a big score, because we had a very big issues in our borders, considering that any single Kenyan wearing a mask, crossing the border, was seen by the other citizens on the other border as the one carrying the epidemic. And when one time I visited Busia, and let me tell you, when I crossed the border, the people were running away, and they were calling me corona. So it is actually a devastated situation. And I believe at the level that the Tanzania has taken, it's quite a very good direction. Worldwide, the issue to do with WHO, I also think that, in fact, it is taking too slow to supply this particular vaccine. I have learned there before that actually there is a company which has come with a new vaccine, which is more viable, which does not require twice vaccination. It requires only once. And I think if that is the route they can take us, I think it's better. Because this element of double injection of this vaccine is also another handle. Because you realize that there is a shortage. There was a shortage from the source of India, and we have been left with only a single source. But I think now currently the governments have done more that kind of resourcing, and they have also negotiated with America, and probably will be having sufficient. But the biggest problem is we have seen our local budget of only 36 billion towards this particular epidemic. My big question is, if we have been asking donors to donate us with billions of hundreds of billions, and as a country, we have just been as simple as that 6 billion to this pandemic for whole financial year. Really, are we serious in fighting the pandemic? This is a big question.
Very big question, clearly. Now, Tanzania is reforming, I would imagine, or rather moving in a completely different direction to what President John Pombe Magufuli was doing. But at the same time, we did have there being a recommendation that herbal remedies be promoted as a cure for COVID-19 and put under the rigors of science. So they're still having elements of that Magufuli approach, but at the same time, they are looking towards the vaccination that the entire world is embracing right now. Honorable Owino, what do you make of this change of heart for Tanzania? And do you think this would have even been a dream during the times of President Magufuli?
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Magambo. One thing which really makes me happy with President Suluhu is how he was relating to herbals. Suppose he had revolted the way we see Ruto is with Uhuru, all this would not come to fruition.
Right.
So patience is gold. I waited. I know he had this when he was a VP. He mulled over them. He waited, followed what the boss was saying, and now he's executing. Now, science cannot be driven under the carpet whatsoever. And we are very afraid that the infection rate, the positivity, we call it, in Tanzania may be higher than what is being seen. But it's good that they have come out, they have formed a team. I was happy to hear that this team will be reporting on daily. By the way, Tanzania is very scientific. It was not just invoked, but they will catch up very fast. Now, for the global village, let me comment on that. The WHO is our prefect, so to speak, a school camp on health matters. We cannot be safe, even America cannot be safe if other world. That's why they are pushing that they can send more vaccine to developing nations. For us, Kenyans, let us talk for ourselves, because you cannot depend on a donor when it comes to health matters. And I'm happy the president put this as one of the agenda.
Right.
We are now pushing the budget here. We are proposing a large amount to go to Cambridge, other institutes, develop vaccine. Because if you go, I had a chance to work in CDC, in London, Boston. If you go there, most Kenyans are brilliant and they are working in these areas. And when you come home, we still depend on other brains to manufacture, distribute, and give us vaccine. It's not right.
Right.
Only because we are underfunding our institution. So even if they push it here, especially with the new variant, which is transmitting very fast, the herd immunity will be pushed to 80, 90%. That means you vaccinate almost of 40 million Kenyans, get that herd immunity we are looking. And you cannot get it depending on handouts from donor world. So my take on this is Kenyans have to wake up. Everything has to be started at the budgetary level. We have to give our Cambridge enough money to start looking into this thing. But kudos to Tanzania. I'm happy for the progress they are making.
Okay. And Mr. Morara, what's your take on vaccine nationalism? It seems to be a persistent problem that has been condemned over and over again by the WHO chief, but clearly it's not going away. The more richer countries are hoarding this and trying to vaccinate their own populations, as more developing nations wait with their hands stretched out, hoping to get help.
What's happening is that I cannot blame those nations that are focusing on protecting their own citizens, because each country, each government should be putting their people first. So what we should be doing in our country is to actually enter into negotiations with these countries for some strategic partnerships to have these vaccines either produced locally or to actually have some arrangements where we can be prioritized when they are willing to share the vaccines with other countries. So we do not have that prioritization. Actually, we don't have any plan in place other than being told that there's some order that has been made for vaccines. There is the 17 million vaccines that have been ordered for, I think there was Moderna, was it Moderna? Johnson & Johnson.
Yeah,
and there
Johnson
was also Pfizer. So we do not, other than that, we've not heard of any other plan to actually make sure that we get to have these supplies when they're available. So I think our focus should be on making plans for the future on how to receive the vaccines instead of complaining. Because if we complain, then we're not serious. We should be thinking about what to do. What is the solution? Not to complain about other countries.
And the big elephant in the house is the manner in which our budgets have been crafted.
Yes.
And the big mistake is that our budgets start from the roof downward. The crafting of the budget starts with the executive and the cabinet. Then the BPS comes to the parliament. And you say there is the element of executive taking the house hostage, that you cannot even amend the proposal of the executive. It's a big fire. So that is the areas that we are saying we need independence, because Parliament can be able to do it well and smart, and they can be able to poach money from out of other areas and put enough money for this particular pandemic. But you will find it moving and passing the way it is with this deficit. Right. I don't know at what point we shall be talking about where we are going to get money from, if we cannot put the money in the budget right now. Because the budget, we are in the last month. Next year, next month is the next financial year.
All right, and as we hope to look inwards towards solutions to the coronavirus, it would appear that some of these issues are the ones that are standing in the way of ensuring that we can actually depend on ourselves when it comes to dealing with the coronavirus and vaccine acquisition and all we have. So it is what it is, as some would put it. Now we're going to cross over live to Juja, where we have Emmanuel Stowe standing by to give us the very latest on what's happening on the ground as residents would be preparing to partake or participate in that by-election. Over to you, Emmanuel Stowe. What's the latest where you are?
Well, thank you very much, Trix. It is a very great day today as the voters, all the residents of Georgia, get into the process of electing the new member of parliament in this by-election that is conducted today here in Georgia. And we're in Kuraiha Primary School, so to speak, and there's activities, there are a lot of activities right now happening. Some of the voters are streaming in and out voting, but there's still the few numbers here so far, but we expect that the numbers will be going up as the day goes by. And we've already seen some of the officials here from the elections observers group, and they're just coming here to confirm whether the process is going on well, and we'll be getting to speak to them in a few. And of course, there are other officials from the IBC, 184 polling stations or polling centers that have been put up in this constituency, just to see that they oversee this process. So I'm going to speak to the official of the E-log just to tell us, so far, are you satisfied with the plans and the process to make sure that there is a credible, free and fair election?
Thank you very much. Yeah, I think so far so good. We are very happy with the way the setup has been done. IBC have done a good job. I can confirm there is social distancing. I can also confirm the setup of the station is well organized. But as you've said, the turn-up is not yet picking up. We are expecting more people to come in. But so far so good. But as you've said, as an election observation group, our work is to keep vigil and also to observe and make sure that no malpractices are conducted in this election. And so far, so good. So for me, I cannot be able to conclude or say much. We are currently expecting to have our team leader who is going to be joining us. Our mission leader is called Anireri. My name is Eustace Kinywa. I am the electoral processes officer. Moving on, we are going to be able to give you more details as the day goes by.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir. And we also have some of the voters coming in. Karibu sana, jina lako ni nani? Valia tu barako yako vizuri. Okay. Yes, jina lako?
Okay, naitwa Steven Aila. Yeah.
Umekuja kupiga kura, hadi sasa unaona shughuli inaendelea vipi?
Okay, nitasema shughuli inaendelea shwari. isipokuwa turnout bado tunaona bado haijafika kulingana na expectation yetu, but tunaona before around saa 5 hivi at least watu watakuwa wamekuja, na ningeomba kuambia watu wenye kwa nyumbani kujeni tupige kura juu ni haki yako. So ningeomba mtu wako nyumbani afike tupige kura. Ndo uchague nini, uchague kiongozi mwenye unataka, na ukichagua kiongozi chagua kiongozi mwenye ako willing kutusaidia, usichague tu in the name of tunachagua.
Sawa sana. Let me speak to another one here before we go to speak to the presiding officer. Jina lako kwanza, valia tu barakoa vizuri. Unakuja kupiga kura, hadi sasa umeona kama wameweka sheria za kuzingatia ugonjwa wa corona?
Sheria naona iko mzuri, security pia iko, na naomba watu wawetaidie tukuje tupige kura, tuchague mchaguzi atasaidia kaunti yetu. Sitaongea mengi sana.
Sawa, asante sana. Another one here, jina lako kwa haraka sana, na unaenda kupiga kura, umejiandaa vipi?
Mimi naitwa Patrick Minaigajo, mimi nakuja kupiga kura hapa ndio nichague ile kiongozi napenda na roho yangu, na ningeomba serikali na wananchi wawe wanajitolea, lakini si kusukumwa. Wawe wanachukua sheria mtu mkono yake.
Okay, asante sana. Well, Trix, I'm going to show you some of the activities that are happening here. There are some police officers here. In every polling station, the 184 of them, there are 2 police officers. That means that we have 368 police officers manning this area and ensuring that there is proper security as the voters come in. And these are the lines. When those voters come in, the first thing they do is sanitize and make sure that they keep with the COVID-19 protocols. And then they walk into a polling station. This is one of the polling stations in this polling center in Koraiha Primary School. And those are some of the officials. They're just waiting. And as I had told you, some of them, some of the voters have not yet come in. And we're expecting that they will be coming in any time from now. So let me just speak to one of the officers here. If I could just, this way. Okay, number 2, oh, he's here. Okay, thank you so much. Maybe if you could tell us, beginning with your name, how is the turnout so far and how many voters are registered to vote in this station?
Okay, my names are Joseph Mwangi. This is Koraiha polling station, number 11. We have 676 registered voters, and so far the turnout is low. We expect that by the end of the day, we'll be getting more voters. So we request those who are at home to come out in large numbers because we are ready.
Okay. And what time did you open? Did you open on time? And also, what are the challenges you're facing so far?
Okay, so far we have not had challenges, but we opened at 6 in the morning, and we are still expecting the voters to come out.
Okay.
Yeah.
And maybe out of the 600 or so that are expected to come here, how many have voted so far?
Okay, so far we have only 2 that have come out. So we still hopeful that by the end of the day, we'll have the voters come to vote. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. That is one of the presiding officers in this polling station. Remember that we have 184 polling stations in this area, 38 polling centers, and this Koraiha Primary School is one of them, and there are different polling stations in this place. And when they come in and their names are checked here by that officer, they go straight and pick some ballot papers and move to that polling booth, and that is where they now cast their vote, and then after signing or ticking against the name of the candidate, their preferred candidate, they now come and post it in that ballot box. And remember that we're only electing one member, and that is the member of the National Assembly in this by-election. Remember that this by-election was occasioned by the death of the former Member of Parliament of this area, Francis Munyo Waitito, who succumbed to cancer some days early in this year. So we'll be monitoring this. We'll be going to other centers and polling stations to make sure that we give you a real picture of what is happening on the ground. Over to you in studio.
Thank you very much, Emmanuel Tour, coming to us live from Juja. And we are having, of course, a close eye on that situation, as well as the Bonchari by-election and the Ruri ward by-election in Nyandarua County as well. A bit of a background information right there. As he mentioned, the MP Francis Waititu died of cancer on February the 22nd, 2021 in Nairobi. He was elected on a Jubilee ticket, and the major contenders right there are for the Juja by-election are Waititu Susan Jerry, Jubilee Party, and Ndungu George Koimburi, who's the Progressive Empowerment Party candidate. Right there, there's a list of other candidates. You can read all about it on page 6 of the Standard this morning. Honorable Gakuya, what do you make of the situation in Juja constituency, and what do you foresee? Briefly.
Tricks is a D-Day for Juja, and I expect that, in fact, despite that, the situation was extraordinary during the campaigns because it was not normal, as the conditionalities for the pandemic has made it not possible to go normal. And therefore, probably those who are looking for votes were unable to reach every single voter within the constituency due to these pandemic conditionalities. But I am sure that whoever is a Juja voter is very much aware that today is his or his D-Day to change or to give himself the leader to replace the late Honorable Waititu. And therefore, I expect, going by the day as from 9, maybe the turnout will be bigger enough, because I'm sure that it is the outcoming of the voters that will make the exercise reasonable. And therefore, wherever they are, I just urge them to come out, cast their votes, make their decision, so that at least they can seek their next destiny from today, because election is just once. I'm happy that so far every arrangement is okay, and preparations are done, the security is there, and the condition and the pandemic, the COVID protocols are well taken care of. So all the best for Juja, Juja voters, and I wish the best candidate to win.
Honorable Owino, what's your take on the ongoing situation in Juja?
Thank you. I just want to tell Honorable Moses Kuria that by crawling, a baby learns to stand. And I want to wish Miss Wakupi, all the best. But the lesson we are learning from all these by-election is that things have changed because of Corona, and people have to be adaptive.
I see Honorable Owino has frozen. We shall move on to Mr. Moraras. What's your opinion on the ongoing situation in Juja? What's your opinion on that report by Emmanuel Tor, as well as, of course, the reports that have come out of Juja?
My hope is that the people of Juja will elect their leader freely without considering too much of the 2022 politics, which have affected most of the recent by-elections, where the politics turned out to be about the 2022 politics. I hope that they can be able to select the next member of parliament independent of those kind of politics.
Okay, thank you very much. We had via Zoom Martin Owino joining us all the way from Mombasa. He's the Member of Parliament for Ndhiwa. James Gakuya is the Member of Parliament for Embakasi North, as well as Morara please, correct.
Omoke.
Omoke. All right, an advocate of the High Court. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for making the time to join us this morning, analyze all the stories that are making headlines in the local dailies. There's so much to cover, so little time. So we're going to take a short break. On the other side, we take a look at the very latest in politics with Jesse Rogers. Do stay tuned to Morning Express.